Welcome to the Colorado State Employee Assistance Program podcast, focused on personal well-being. We ask leaders across Colorado state government how they manage their own emotional well-being and mental health. My name is Natalie Newman, and I'm an EAP specialist with the Colorado State Employee Assistance Program, or CSEAP. We offer mental health counseling, leader consultation, critical incidents response, mediation, and webinar and facilitation services. You can find more information at cseap.colorado.gov. Well, today we are speaking with Rosina McNeil-Cusick, so thank you so much for being on our podcast.
I am so excited to be here. I am such a fond fan of CSEAP and all the things you do.
Oh, awesome. Great. Well, thank you. And now you are settling into your role. You started here end of April, and you're the Statewide Equity Director with the Department of Personnel Administration. Tell me a little bit about what your role has looked like so far.
It definitely started off from a lived experience as a woman of color when I realized we could operationalize the things that my mom and I talked around at the kitchen table. I knew I had to be a part of this work. And so I actually started off in HR in the fashion industry of all things. Did a little bit of HR, did a little bit of sales, all in the city of New York. And then I realized that that was not my path. I joined the Peace Corps, served in the Peace Corps in the country of Namibia, and served, I tell you, the best 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in all the world. And when I came back to the United States, so much of what I realized while I was abroad was some of the communication things we were having was just understanding. I came back to the United States, moved to the city of Colorado Springs, and helped them with their DEI efforts. And when this position at the state opened up, I knew I had to be a part of it. We've been tasked with this incredible opportunity to help the state and its agencies and its community and your neighbors, your friends, your partners, your kiddos in this equity space. We have supplier diversity, where we are working with women, minority-owned businesses, as well as LGBTQ, veteran-owned, disability-owned businesses. We also have statewide accessibility, so we're taking legislation and we are turning it into policies and procedures. And then we have internal strategy, what you would think of as workforce. So we're looking at recruitment policies, retention procedures that folks can have in play, even down to handouts and forms and making sure that we're using inclusive language for folks. And then we have external strategy, where we are working with community engagement. We really know that to do great equity work, you have to be community informed. That is a huge fundamental belief of what we're doing in the Statewide Equity Office. We are informed by the people that we are working with and for.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a lot of different pieces, really complex decision making, and a lot of strategy. So I imagine that takes a lot out on you. And so I'm curious, how do you take care of yourself through all of that?
So I have to be honest, I'm learning about self-care. I'm definitely on my own self-care journey right now, but I love to be creative. I'm really, really into interior design, and so I have multiple DIY projects around my house that help me just kind of focus and center my energy on a goal and an outcome, which definitely helps clear my head and makes me feel really good because I love to watch the progress of it. And then I am also not afraid to say, like, hey, I need an hour to watch The Real Housewives because I want to zone out and I want something that's easy to watch and easy to consume. And I am an avid Real Housewives watcher. I watch all the franchises, but I'm biased towards Beverly Hills. Anyway, this is not, they did not pay me to say that. But if I just need 10 minutes where my husband and my little girl are doing their own thing in the house and I'm just zoning out, having a little bit of me time, I'm not afraid to do that. I also try to wake up earlier than the rest of my family before I have to commit to the others in my household, and I'll have my cup of coffee outside, where it's just me and it's just, me and Mother Nature, and it feels really good and it's a great way to start my day. But I definitely have some self-care goals I'm looking forward to potentially doing.
Yes, please share.
Yes. I when I lived in New York City, I was a big biker. When Hurricane Sandy happened in 2014, the whole city had there was no electricity from 34th Street down. It was a blackout. And all of us bikers had the golden ticket because you couldn't ride the subways. There weren't many taxis downtown. And so it was just like us bikers out there, and it was so invigorating. And so I'd love to get back into biking. I also played volleyball growing up, and then into adulthood, I played in Namibia when I was in the Peace Corps. And ever since I've become a mommy and have moved back to the States, I haven't been able to play as much as I would like to. Being active in the sports that I really enjoy doing are something that I'm definitely looking forward to.
I love your honesty in saying, like, hey, yeah, self-care, not always the greatest.
Right.
And I love that you shared a lot of what you do personally. And I'm wondering if there are any things that you want to do aspirationally, like within your work day, or things that you do that you're like, oh yeah, I always take a walk at lunch or whatever.
I would love to start meditating. I think it's incredibly restorative. When I have done it in the past, it feels like a connection with something bigger than myself sometimes. Like my soul is connecting. I would love to use that time to meditate. I think it's like imposter syndrome almost, where I'm like, that's for me, right? Like I can just do that. Like, and so I haven't had the confidence to really just move that into my routine.
Well, and I think oftentimes people think, oh, meditating, I need to be sitting crisscross applesauce in silence. I need to have like a little chime or,
Right.
Singing bowl.
I need gear or something. What do I wear? I don't know. And so I again, I think it comes into that confidence thing where I'm like, no, I just want to reconnect with the universe or just with myself, and having that dedicated time I think could be really special.
Yeah. Little ways to kind of check in with yourself and connect. And oftentimes we're like, oh, I need to add more things to my day.
Yes.
And that's what self-care looks like. And when I work with folks, it's also incorporating, well, like, what are things that I'm already doing in my day?
Absolutely. And I think I should have started off. I am also a huge fan of therapy, and I feel like there is a stigma with saying that sometimes, that I vehemently reject, because I think there's so much power with saying things out loud. And so I go to therapy and I love it. I love it. And I've been going since I was back in the States. Sometimes I'm really good at it and I'm very diligent, and sometimes I'm not so good at it, but I commit to it. You can do it online. You can do it over the phone. You can come in, and therapy is so accessible now. And so
And there's so many different kinds. I was going to say, like, I've done walking therapy, which was, it was when I was in grad school and I was sitting for the majority of my day.
Right.
And it was like, no, I need to have a dedicated time, every other week or so where I'm walking for an hour.
Right. And I love having a neutral party. I think for me, before I started therapy, I thought, well, I'll just talk to my mom about it. I'll just talk to my best friends about it, or what have you. I'll talk to my husband about it. I didn't necessarily need someone that had a ball in the court with me, some skin in the game. Like, I needed someone that was just neutral. My therapist, I've been able to share some incredible things with him that, again, I just needed to say out loud. And that took the power away and the weight away. And that feels so good.
Love that you're an advocate for therapy, and also just that speaking things out loud. So many times, I know for me personally, or for folks that I've worked with, where they're like, they've got things churning and spinning in their head, and when we say it out loud, it's so different. Wow, that was really mean. I can't believe I keep thinking that about myself.
Right.
Or, wow, that sounds so harsh. And how, right, just speaking it, writing it can be so, so helpful.
Absolutely. When I had my little girl, I had a little postpartum anxiety. And one of the things that was recommended to me was to start a diary. I started writing a diary not to myself, but to my daughter. And so I would share some of the things that she did that might have made me nervous or made me scared, or how I was feeling after I had her, or some of the things that I might have been scared about, but now she does, and now I'm so excited. And so the plan is to give this to her when she turns 18. And so she has like all these thoughts of mommy while she was growing up. And I have other people contribute to it too, if they have like a really funny thing they want to tell her. So it's like this compilation of different just thoughts about her. Processing like the worry on paper was relief, was like exhaling. I don't even think I've ever verbalized that, but that's how it felt. Yeah.
Well, and the way that you described it, of being able to start that journal, and like it was this where you're not holding on to that breath and the fear of like everything that might happen and how she might hurt herself, or how you think you might be doing all these things wrong or whatnot.
It's a really cool tool now, because at first it started as kind of like a postpartum anxiety remedy, and now it's turned into this thing where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to put this in her diary. This is going to be so fun. For example, right now, her favorite lullaby song is "My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard" by Khalees, because baby girl loves ice cream. And I just happened to sing that to her one day. And so she asks for it at night all the time. She'll be like, will you sing the milkshake song? And so we will rock and sing the milkshake song together. And I'm like, this is something that needs to be documented in the history of her life. So,
well, I love these pieces of your self-care. Self-care for you is connecting with your family, and you said that early on in the interview, of talking with your mom. And so, yeah, I mean, would you agree with that family is a big part of your self-care?
family is a huge part of that, and my family especially grounds me. It's the dependable. We change who we are. I don't think we're ever the same person year after year after year, but us as a unit, that is my constant. That is my North Star. And my husband is, it sounds like I'm doing a PR ad for him because he's so good at this, but he will be the first person that's like, have you thought about it this way? I tend to have racing thoughts sometimes, especially if my mental health is not at its best. He can bring me out of that really, really well, before I can get to my therapist.
Triage in the meantime.
Yes, he is my he's my mental health triage.
Well, and you talked about change, and certainly change can be so hard for many of us. And I think within diversity, equity, inclusion work, there's a lot of challenging and changing and bringing awareness to things. And so I'm curious how, on that front, you help yourself and help others kind of cope with all of the change and like uncomfortableness that might come up.
Yes. I I think we all need on t-shirts, be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, because that is essentially so much of a lot of the root of what we do in equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I really try to make sure that I am promoting self-care and mindfulness and wellness. I think that's really important. I think work-life balance is huge. We are humans first. And I really try to take that approach into everything that we do, from our team to the people that we work with in community to the employees that we serve, especially when it comes to things like change. In equity, diversity, and inclusion, empathy is huge. As people navigate change, we have to be empathetic and not judge anybody for where they are when it comes to equity, diversity, and inclusion. One of my goals specifically for the equity, diversity, and inclusion team here in the equity office is that everybody feels like they're a part of the equity office and everybody has a space at this table. You belong here, and we really want to hear you, and we really value you.
On this podcast, we focus on mental health and well-being. If you are an employee of a state of Colorado agency or Colorado higher education, public university, or college, you are eligible for the Colorado State Employee Assistance Program services. You can visit cseap.colorado.gov for more information or schedule an appointment by calling 303-866-4314. Thanks for listening.